when you're doing stuff that's repetitive all the time, it's almost like your brain just shuts off. It's like boring, you know. It's like thinking of it like we all use this analogy before where you're in a car and you're driving, you might be going like 60, 70 miles an hour. Then all of a sudden you're there, you're like, how the hell did I get there? Like, you don't remember the journey, right? Your brain just goes to like shut down. It's like, all right, this shit is too boring. I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to go do something else. Yep. And then once you do those repetitive things all day, and then you come home, how creative do you think you're going to be to work, create a side business or have a conversation with your significant other? Or no, people are not like that. People are just like already shut off because the whole day is just so mundane that they get home and they just drown themselves in Netflix for 4 hours, or they're sitting on their phone for hours because they don't have the mental capacity to be creative.
Welcome to the podcast.
I
was going to do the spin around, but I'm too close to my desk, man. Welcome to It's More Than Black or White Health Podcast. I am Paul. I am an author, a facilitator, a champion of service with my co-host right here, Brian. What's up? What you got, B?
What do you got? Brian Rankin, entrepreneur, investor, holistic health advocate, and curator of knowledge and experiences. Love having a good time. Love learning.
And so it is.
So it is.
I was watching this Reverend on one of the social media channels. He's like, I tell you what the Lord has said. I was like, they're so charismatic, man. It's like
they are.
I don't even know what he just said, but I'm feeling
no one knows what they're saying. It's all about the energy. Yeah.
It's the energy. And it's the talking style, like rhythmic. It's like I don't know what he said, but I'm moving right now.
Yeah.
Welcome to It's More Than Black or White Health Podcast. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for subscribing, supporting, liking, comments. We're gonna have more engagement. Brian and I just had a meeting about what's coming next. And Lord God, we're excited for us all.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited for us all. So this
2025 is gonna be a good year, man.
Bruh.
I'm ready. It's gonna be a fun year.
Yeah, man. We riding into 2025 like I'm thinking about I caught the last end of like it was early morning. I couldn't get to sleep, and I was like, oh my God. I started scanning. I caught the last end of The Last Crusade with Indiana Jones.
Yeah, you're coming in like 1925.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I caught
you need to upgrade that vehicle.
I do. But like, so no, Indiana Jones was The Last Crusade. Indiana Jones' Last Crusade.
Classic.
With the and he just got the Holy Grail with his dad and the other two guys, and he's like riding on the horse, like. And I'm like, that's what we're gonna be coming in 2025, like freaking a storm. But you know what, B? It's hard to go in like that when you're in a rut, though, bro.
I hear you, man.
It's tough.
You think people get in a ruts, man? Huh? You think so?
I think so, but first thing we got to do, B, is we got to let people know. First of all, what the heck is a rut, and why? What's the reason we would even talk about this in a health podcast? We're very glad you asked that question, because a rut can truly disrupt your level of well-being, which could create more cortisol in your body, disrupt your sleep, your nutrition habits, your habits overall. So what Brian and I are going to talk about today is how to get out of a rut and find your drive. And between the two of us, Brian and I have been in ruts. We found our way out. I'm not going to speak for B, but I know I've been like, oh, Chuck, I got to find my way out again. But I think today's going to be a very important episode for us to really dive into, because I think, especially with a lot of pressures that people have, B, people can fall into a rut, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I learned something from Paul Chek back in the day is you have I goals, you have we goals, and you have our goals. So think
Mm,
of it as like almost like a tree. Our I goals are the roots that you have to set. Once you have those roots set and your personal goals are met, then you can
mm,
start building the trunk, which is your our goals. I'm sorry, which is your we goals. That's like your relationship, your outside businesses, all this other stuff. And
yeah.
then once those are good, then you have your our goals. Like, what are you going to leave behind? What's your legacy? What are you going to leave behind? And that's the branches, that's the leaves, and those are the fruits that come off the tree.
Yeah.
So a lot of people they almost like they sacrifice their I goals and just go right into relationships, thinking relationships are going to make them happy. But
Mm.
you can't have a successful side business or be a successful entrepreneur if you're all jacked up on the inside. That'll just carry over. All your insecurities, all your issues that you're dealing with will carry over into your relationships. And there's no way you can leave a positive legacy behind with that as well.
No,
You know?
definitely no. And you know what? It's interesting because that mindset, that mind trail can be the perfect cocktail for the rut, man. Because
Yeah.
it can be uh oh man, I'm supposed to do things a certain way and I'm not, I'm struggling. What the heck is happening?
Yeah.
And listen, I'm speaking from experience to really shine the light on like, well, what the heck is what can this look like? And when I was in ruts B, it was this feeling of being stuck. Like there was times anyone, I mean, people could say it's depression, and I think it's like um it's I think it's, I don't know, I think it's different than depression. It's like a malaise. It's
Yeah.
like, I could get out of bed, but I was just like, I was walking around like Eeyore, man, like, hey bird.
Yeah. It's like almost like you're numb, right?
Yeah, bro. Like
Yeah.
nothing would
It's a weird feeling. It's a
it
weird
very,
feeling.
very weird. Very weird, bro. It's and weird, I mean like uncanny, so like it's almost as if, like, thinking back on it, it's like my body's moving and I'm like this miniature figure, like trying to get, like, feel myself. Like I'm like, oh, it's like almost I think that's when I started getting panic attacks, man.
You
Um
know what? I'm going back. I'm thinking about what it felt like when I was in that position, and
yeah,
I would say hollow would be a good word for me. I felt like hollow, like there was
that's
nothing inside me. Like I was like just
bro.
missing something. Like I wasn't like my soul's like, all right, I'm gonna leave. Well, like, oh, until you figure out your shit. I was like,
Yeah, dude.
until you get your shit together. I think that's what kind of describe. That's how I kind of felt. Just thinking back on it now, I haven't felt that way in a while, but yeah, that was a rough period.
Brother, man. Listen,
Vibing
I
low,
think what's that?
vibing low, vibing
Yes,
really low.
bro. Yes. And this is you, bro. When I was envisioning that description I gave you, the word you selected was ideal. That's exactly what it was, man. It was like a hollow feeling. And it was like mental fatigue. I lacked inspiration.
Yeah,
And it was, bro, there was a point of it, and it was very similar to what we were just talking about, like as far as asking for help, right? I'd be in this rut, Brian, and this hollow feeling, and because at the time I was unable to express it, I was resistant to even ask people for help or even talk
yeah,
about it, bro, because I had no
yeah,
idea how to even describe it. I was like, I'm just uncomfortable.
yeah. And for me, it was like I reached out to external environmental things, I guess, to fill that hollowness.
Yeah.
So would it be alcohol, drugs, women, just
Mhm,
anything
mhm.
to kind of, I played poker for a living at the time. So I did anything to kind of feel something almost.
Mm,
And
mm,
and it wasn't until I really got like it was funny. I remember working at a gym, and I remember sitting at the desk. And at the time I was probably making like, $8, $9 an hour. And this is going back maybe 15, 20 years ago. And we talked about some past episodes where you hear voices. And I got this like voice in my head where it's like, you're too good for what you're doing. And it wasn't a knock against people that work at gyms, but it was just like, all right, you've been doing this long enough. like it's time to get your shit together and go on to your next phase, your next journey, keep following the hero's journey. And for me, that's when it really took off. And I started taking more calculated risks. I started, that's when I met John down in South Jersey, the guy that lives in Florida, my old business partner. And he started me on the entrepreneurial path, and that took off, even though it was a complete shit show for about 5 years. But it got my feet wet, and I started learning about like what it's really like to be an entrepreneur, and like, living thin for a while, starting new business from the ground up. So, but yeah, I was in a rut for a long time. Even when I was an entrepreneur, you're still in a rut. Like, it's tough.
Man, so it's because like, so this is very interesting that's coming up for me right now when I'm thinking about a rut and in regards to the entrepreneurial ventures, right? And you and I've talked about the entrepreneurial ventures offline and on the podcast, and I think it's I'm thinking back on when I've been in quote unquote the rut, and I'm like, was it really a rut, or did I just not know what to do? Do you follow what I'm saying, man?
No, yeah, it could be lost. A lot of people are just like what they do is for a lot of us, and including myself, when I was younger, I was comparing myself to other people. I'm like, dude, I'm like 30 years old. Everyone's got like these fancy degrees. They're wearing suits to go to work. Yeah. I'm in my pajamas working at a gym, barely getting by. I can't even.
Flannel ones? Did you have the flannel ones?
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. You wear your sweatpants to do, you're a trainer,
Exactly.
But it's like, I'm barely getting by. Like, I can't afford to live by myself. I have to have a roommate. And like, you're comparing yourself to other people. And it's like, shit, man. It's like, I'm not where I want to be. And now I understand that's very unhealthy. And you can't do that. Everyone's different. But
well, yeah, I mean, that's I'm just looking at what the pattern is, and I think what the pattern is in this is the comparison to others, which can create the rut. The reason why I bring this up is when I look at the definition of rut, right?
Yeah.
The second definition. Hold on. Oh shoot, I'm scrolling my work mouse, and I'm like,
that's a big trigger.
Huh?
That's a big trigger.
Yeah, man. I mean, because listen, so why I say the habit of comparison, a rut by definition is a habit or pattern of behavior that has become dull or unproductive but it's hard to change. So in this instance, what you're saying and what I can relate to as well is being in that pattern of comparing myself to others, of like, well, what like I'm looking at them in social media. I'm like, well, why are my things doing as well? Yeah. So I'm comparing myself, and I make it a habit rather than focusing and harnessing inside. And that becomes hard to change because there's a certain dopamine to it, like that stress factor, even though like, we talk about stress. And you really need to have an episode on stress, like de-stress, eustress, that kind of difference and stuff. But like when we talk about stress, man, it's like that contributes.
Lack of direction is huge. That's why we talk about you got to set goals. People don't have goals. People's goals are so like vague. They're just like, I want to be healthy. I want to be rich. Like, those are like whack ass goals. That's lazy goals. Bro. So like you gotta your SMART goals. That acronym. But like lack of direction. So like a lot of people are just like all over the place. Like we talked about this in the last episode. A lot of people are super busy, but they're not efficient at what they do. So they're just running in a million different directions. And a lot of people are yes people, always trying to always trying to please other people, so they have no time for themselves. So you got to say, we talk about like setting boundaries, setting clear goals, and if those goals that you set and the external people that come in your life try to pull you away from those goals, your boundaries aren't solid enough.
Bro, I'm telling you, bro. People, listen to what Brian's saying. Can I get an amen and hallelujah? Bro, you hit it on you're speaking truth right now, man, because I want to come back to one of the big truth you said about people people have yet to create clear goals. They're extremely vague. And I mean, I started to understand this when I got coaching, and I would do that vague stuff. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I really want to be happy. I want to be healthy. What does that mean, though? Well, you know, and that's always the comment afterwards. Well, you
Yeah.
know, I don't, mother hoo-ha. That's why I'm asking you this. What does
Yeah.
that mean, man? So let's say, like, what does it look like? What are some markers, man? And
Exactly.
Brian, I swear to goodness, man, if people really, if one of the things I noticed is that when people, and I'm seeing this trend when I'm working with men, is that it's like training them to set a goal or training them first to figure out what they want to go towards. Then it's I'm going to take away training. I'm going to say conditioning them to say, hey, this is what I want to go for, right? Rather than being like
Yeah.
this, because the rut can be your mindset. We're going to get to that in a bit. The rut can be your mindset because you're on this path and story of what something looks like, right? So you're greasing this groove. That's why it's saying it's hard to get out of it. It's hard. But as soon
Yeah.
as you start to put your mind into something different and it start to progress, because listen, if you have a goal, once you condition like, oh, I do want that. Okay, great. Now what's it going to take for you to get there? Well, let's think about it then. What are you going to need? I'm going to need school. Oh, we'll put that on the list, then. You got to put that as a goal. When are you going to start? When are you going to finish? You know what I'm saying? Now, all of a sudden, it gives them the opportunity to put their mind on something different, man. Where your attention goes, energy flows, bro. It'll jack you up.
100%. Love that.
Yeah,
Love that.
dude. Bless up Claire Diab and Jen Cavallari, man. You rock with the goodness. They put me with that in yoga teacher training. I was like, oh wow. So B, we went into some causes of the rut, like the stress we talked about. The fear of failure can be another one. I had here when I was jotting repetitive routines. I
Yeah.
think you spoke about this. Can you talk about like really knowing, like prioritizing things? You mentioned this in the last podcast. Can you touch on that for us for a little bit, B? And your thoughts on this?
I absolutely hate. You ever remember the Myers-Briggs? Remember that
I
personality
do.
test?
Yes, I
So
do.
ENFP, ENFP, yeah.
Mhm.
And one thing I hate more than anything is mundane, boring tasks that are done day in and day out. That's why I'm a horrible manager. Like, it's funny. Like, I can run a business good, like I can oversee a business, but the
Yeah.
day to day, like 100 things on a checklist, man, it's like I'm horrible at that. I don't. It doesn't interest me, and I'm one of those people that if things don't interest me, that's why I'm a bad student. We talk about the ADD thing, right?
Yep.
Things that don't interest people that have ADD, you're going to be horrible at it. So might as well find a job that you really like so you can keep your attention, right? So, but so like tasks that are mundane, I would say, that you need to, that's busy work. That's kind of like what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
That if you're doing stuff that's every day, that's this repetitive, boring, mundane things, you might be working hard, but you're not working efficient. And one
Mm,
thing that can kind of get you out of a rut, and one thing I'm really good at is I'm good at creating systems that become more efficient.
mm.
So one of the things I would do, like when I was, for example, managing over at Lifetime, it would give me
Yeah.
like 30 different things I got to do every single day where that was exactly the same thing. And I'm like, no. So I created my own system where I would take me, and so an average person would take 4 hours. It would take me like 30 minutes by the time I was done with it. And I would
Yeah.
create systems around it. And everybody would think I'd be working 4 hours, but I would really be working 30 minutes, and I would take it 3.5 hours to work on a side business or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that got me out of my rut when I got tired of listening to, or tired of doing those everyday things. I would find more creative, effective ways to run business, and I got that actually from Tim Ferriss. He wrote a great book back in the day called The 4 Hour
Bro.
Work Week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yes,
So
man.
he,
Okay.
he got that. And that's another thing too. Like reading books about people that helps you make your time more efficient. You can, if every time you read a book, if you can just take one thing out of that book and you apply it to your life, it will get you out of that rut because it's something new. It's like a creative spark that kind of goes off in you, and that's going to motivate you to do things that are better. That's going to motivate you. And when you have that motivation, you start having that lateral thinking.
Yeah.
That right brain kind of opens up, and it's like, oh, we got a whole new world here. Otherwise, you're just stuck in left brain logic, tunnel vision the whole time. So that's one of the things. That's why I always read, man. I always read. I mean, every time I get a book, I get a new book. I just showing Paul today. I just got my new book in *Sapiens*. I heard it's a must read. Like I said, this book probably weighs 6 or 7 pounds. I don't know what these pages are made of. It's like
They're
lead.
meaty.
But that's my new thing. Like I read every single day for a little bit. I wake myself up early and I read.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of went off there. But
No,
did I answer the question?
yeah, you did. I mean, well, you answered the question, and then you brought something else up for me too. But I'll get to that in a second. Coming back to this thing, some of the causes of the rut. Like I was hearing you saying, like basically being productive, like doing your best to be productive and efficient, because people will do like busy work, but they're failed to be efficient. So
Yeah.
one of the things, like what I heard when you were telling about your experience when you were managing, like there'd be a bunch of things to do. It usually take like hours, but then you found a way to become more efficient of it. So in a reality, right? So like a rut is a pattern, and those mundane tasks. And I think this is powerful. These mundane tasks, they can consume you and create the rut. So instead of progressing, instead of, like you mentioned, you heard Brian say, well, now I could do it in 30 minutes and I could do something else with that 3.5 hours, right?
Yeah.
Because now he found a way to, okay, like this was a rut and a pattern. I'm going to find a way to disrupt that, and you be able to use that energy. That's, I think, one of the components that people fail to acknowledge. B. Question I have for you, right? Oh, you have something? Yeah.
No, I was gonna add on really quick. Like when you're doing stuff that's repetitive all the time, it's almost like your brain just shuts off. It's like boring. It's like thinking of it like we all use this analogy before where you're in a car and you're driving, you might be going like 60, 70 miles an hour. Then all of a sudden you're there, you're like, how the hell did I get there? Like you don't remember the journey, right? Your brain just goes to like shut down. It's like, all right, this shit is too boring. I'm gonna go for a walk, I'm gonna go do something else. And
Yep.
then once you do those repetitive things all day, and then you come home, how creative do you think you're going to be to work, create a side business or have a conversation with your significant other? Or no, people are not like that. People are just like already shut off because the whole day just is just so mundane that they get home and they just drown themselves in Netflix for 4 hours, or they're sitting on their phone for hours because they don't have the mental capacity to be creative. And that's I think for me that's a big issue where we're at today.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of lab mice just running
Yes.
around on a wheel.
Well, you know what? This contributes to some of the some of the societal pressures that come with our collective, right? Like and also the professional pressures, because people are like, okay, people want things, right? So how are you going to get it? Most people think the usual way to get it is a 9 to 5 solely, right? So they'll give everything to a 9 to 5. They'll pummel them. They'll come home. They'll get in their it's either they'll get in their societal thing, like, hey, did you see that series on Netflix? Did you see the last episode of Columbo back in '85? They'll start to get into like these like conditions, like, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Rather than like, hey man, you want to, even going out all the time can be a rut, right? Because I can go out after work and drink my face off. Yeah, almost stumbled into the house, man, pump out a couple knuckle children and go to bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really, we get to be very conscious of the types of patterns that we have, because they can either help elevate us or they can drown us, bro.
Yeah. Plus you're very easily susceptible to be influenced by social media marketing, news,
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
programming you with all these memes, right? You become very easily programmed as a person when you're just day to day, like do this, do this, do this, do this. And if you're somebody over your head telling you what you need to do every day, then you get home and the news is like, oh, take this next shot. We have a kangaroo vaccine or whatever newest animal vaccine is out there right now. Or take this or do this. And you have a doctor and a white coat trying to sell you this drug where 95% of the commercial is talking about how it's going to give you hemorrhoids, your balls are going to fall off, and your boobs, whatever. People are
Yo,
like, hey, but that one positive thing, and the doctor's telling me to do it, I'm going to go out and do it.
yo, I'm okay. I'm gonna have a moment of truth with you here. If there was a kangaroo vaccine and they gave away some old school kangaroos sneakers, I swear to gosh, I'm getting in line, bruv. I'll suffer the consequences for that little side pocket on my shoe.
Yeah.
Those that don't know, go look it up, bro. Brian, you know what I'm talking about.
In 3 months, you're gonna come out of that. You're gonna have a pouch. You're gonna have a pouch.
You be like,
all your kids are gonna be in there. You're like, no side effects.
All right, we just totally went off, but who cares?
We're getting shut down.
Y'all are riding with us, but okay. So this is very interesting. The more I think about this, I think there's so this is what other thing, and I want to start switching this to what you were talking about before with like the mindset and how we get out of it, because I think like with what you said, I think I wrote it down, there's a conscious rut and there's an unconscious rut.
Yeah.
And for people, like to give an example, in my mind, and I'm curious if it's the same for you, the conscious rut is like, hey, here's the game plan. I want you to follow this instructions.
Mm-hmm.
Bump, 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 bump. It's like sometimes they do that as part of initiation to freaking break down the ego, like your individuality is gone, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the unconscious rut, which could be caused by either some traumatic experience, or like some story you got in your head, or something that happened at some point that has you thinking a certain way and vibing a certain way that keeps you stuck where you are.
And I forgot the ratio. Wasn't it like a 90-10 or 95-5 between your subconscious to your conscious?
Yeah.
Something like that. It was something pretty high.
It was high, bro. It was high. Well, you know what? There's this thing called Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
what are your thoughts on like the conscious versus unconscious? Did what I say align, or did you have a different view of it?
Well, I mean, I think your subconscious is whatever as a child between the first 7 years of your life. It's everything that you see, you feel, you hear, all your senses. You're basically just downloading everything. And after that 7 years is up, that's your hard drive. Throughout life, and that's going to be the person you're going to be for the rest of your life, unless you decide to take action and change that. So everything else is upgrades. I'm not a computer person. Maybe upgrades, or you're adding apps in there, or and that's the conscious mind. So a lot of people are like, I don't understand the way that person acts. Like, why did they react like that? It was something downloaded in their childhood that made them react like that. And the more you understand that, and you understand people, the more empathetic, compassionate, and loving you can be. Because obviously that person went through a hard time and doesn't know how to deal with that. Like, I don't understand why she flipped off, or she came up to me and she like cursed at me for something stupid like that. You know what? Trust me, her pain is 10x on the inside of what that experience that she went through that downloaded that hard drive.
Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
That's my view at it. I look at it as like almost like a hard drive, and that's who you are.
Yeah, dude, it's very interesting, man, because that hard drive, and Brian, you were right. It's 95-5, by the way.
Yeah.
I looked it up. All right. You see right here, Mr. Google. Google doesn't lie, damn it.
No, internet never lies.
It never lies, guy.
Especially if I'm right.
That's right. You're right, goddamn it. You're right. But dude, man, this is that you mentioned something that's been on my mind a lot, and I would like at some point, I think I would really like to do a podcast on upgrading, because it's been on my mind really recently. I think I've been wanting to do like a short about it, but like I think I would like to do that. We'll have that conversation with you on the podcast. When you say upgrade, I think it's super important, because my judgment is most of us fail to upgrade our systems.
Yeah.
So whether that's our body, whether that's our mind, our spirit, but like, what do we do to upgrade that system? I mean, golly, our
Yeah.
technology does it. And you know
Yeah.
what our technology shows us? We can shut ourselves down. I'm going to shut down. And I'm going to, you know what? You're going to shut down too. And I'm going to upgrade. But what do? Nope. And we put ourselves in a rut. B, you had some thoughts on like what we can do to get out of ruts, man. I'm curious, like talk to us about like what your thoughts are on that stuff, man. Like science.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, still, I got one thought still in my head what you were talking about before. I remember I remember going to a seminar and somebody telling me like every emotion either stems from love or fear. And it's like, so how you act towards people or how you react towards certain things is either going to be stemming from love or fear. So if, I was a person like grew up in like not the easiest household, parents divorced and mom working crazy, dad alcoholic, and kind of left us when we were younger. So I had a lot of anger, and I was looking for, like I need to express myself. And I expressed myself a lot about anger, and I carried that when I was in my 20s and 30s. And don't get me wrong, I still get pissed off every once in a while, but a lot of times. But I also understand that it's coming from a place of fear. Yeah. Now, if I want to change myself, and I have no problem being vulnerable. I have no insecurities. My goals in life are I want to grow personally and professionally. So like on a personal level, if I get angry, I'm like, okay, where's this fear coming from? And I literally at the end of the day, like I'll take time out and I'd be like, why did I overreact? Where does it? And I almost like do like a retro analysis where I go backwards. Like somebody cut me off and I'm like, there's been times people like, and I know it's like I see myself like it's not personal. These people, I've never met this person. He probably wouldn't pay, I'm probably in the blind spot and they cut me off and I'm ready to like throw down. Like and I gotta like catch myself, like, this time, like, I got things to work on, obviously, right? So, but I understand that it's like, all right, it's coming from a place of fear. Why is that? Oh, maybe they challenge me and trying to make me look small, and I need to show them I'm bigger than that. And it's like this, like that male, like caveman ego that just kind of comes out sometimes, and it's useful sometimes, but it's also in that situation, it's obviously not useful. But I need to figure out like where the source of that pain is coming from, the source of that fear is coming from, and then kind of be vulnerable with it. And it's funny because I've dealt with a lot of things like that. You can almost like feel like kind of like dissipating away, like just going away. Yeah, and it's like you feel lighter and you're like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, okay. Bro. But that's a powerful, bro. What you talking about is powerful practice, bro. Powerful because in IFS, well, actually, I don't know if it's IFS or just like how this guy Bill Wick does the parts program. But there's they have a process called the positive intent process where you talk to that part of yourself, right? That part that's like, that's like angry, like getting to the root and figuring out like, hey, what do you want? Like, all right, what do you get from what you want? Like, imagine having that, like getting to the root of it, and it does just start to dissipate and it's important, people, why we're talking about this with rut is because most likely your rut is connected to something that you want. It's a part of you that wants to keep you tugged and tethered, bro.
Yeah.
There's a part in you, bro. That's good. That's what keeps you in the rut, peoples. I'm gonna say us, people, human beings, because we are all human.
Yeah. No, I agree.
If you please.
What was your question?
I forgot.
Like things people can do to kind of get out.
Yeah. I was just singing Seal.
Yeah.
no, you were like, Paul,
Like, focus, focus.
focus, man. We're on a podcast here.
Hell's going on over there?
I was gonna ask, like, because I know you appreciate the brain science and the chemistry
Mhm.
and that part of, in that aspect of how we can leverage the brain science to help us transition, shift, like alchemize, right? Transition. So, what are your thoughts about like what like the science of the brain or tips or tactics that people can use to really help get themselves out of the rut, man? Like, what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
some tips?
As far as like, okay, so like I would go, I mean, I would make sure your nutrition is good. I mean, this is all stuff that most people already know. Like if I mean, I can go into a middle school classroom. I think most people understand this. Maybe not to like down to the degree, but I think
Yeah.
like nutrition, like eating, try to eat as much organic as you possibly can. You know, because anytime you're putting chemicals in your body, it just blocks creativity. Like you just can't think clearly with all these toxins in your body. So if you're trying to get out of a rut, first thing I would do is I'd be like, all right, what kind of fuel are you putting in your body? You know, is it, you know, Arby's sandwiches? I don't even know if people eat Arby's anymore, but Arby's sandwiches, or is it, you know, grilled chicken and grass-fed beef? Like what are you putting in your body? And I would start with the fuel,
Mm.
water. If you're lacking, if you're like, you know, definitely your sleep. Sleep is huge. Like you cannot like if you have one bad night of sleep, we've all had it before where you just sleep like shit and the whole day you're like a zombie. Most people don't even know what it's like to have a good night's sleep. That'll mess up your serotonin. That's going to mess up your dopamine, which is your feel good hormones, your drive, your motivation. I would stay away from body wash products with a lot of chemicals in there. That just destroys your serotonin. Again, your dopamine. So many things that you can change. What was that? Was that Think Dirty app?
Huh? Oh, the Think Dirty. Yeah.
Yeah, Think Dirty app where you can scan products and see what level of carcinogens are on it on a level 1 to 10.
Yeah,
That's
it's like a paid
important.
app. Yeah, it's good,
Yeah,
man. I like. I mean,
meditation. I'm huge in the meditation and visualization. Visualization. I'm huge in, huge in, huge in, huge in. So
okay, so I heard movement, meditation, mindful eating, also hydration
and sleep.
and sleep. Yo, what did the five fingers say to the face? Slap your ass with one of these freaking things you got here, man. Like
Yeah,
I want to, and B, I love what you're saying here, and I'm thinking of what I had to do to get out of a rut because I know like all these things are beneficial, but like bro, I wasn't hearing any of this shit.
yeah,
Like as far as what can help me. So I think the thing that helped me is to do one thing, change one thing. Because remember, people, if you're in a rut, you're in a pattern. So changing even one thing is gonna disrupt your whole shit. So what do you mean, Paul? Well, it could have if you're since you're in a rut, take a day to recover and recoup.
yeah,
And I'm not talking about you sitting in bed because you're most likely already doing that shit anyway. I'm talking about go find yourself a spa somewhere. If you're a man or a woman, go get yourself like a massage or a pedicure or something. Go sit in a steam room, a sauna, something. One time a week, at least one time. Okay. Hydration. Get yourself a water bottle. It doesn't have to be this, but get yourself a water bottle. Put it on your set a goal. I'm gonna drink 7 of these today. Tell a friend at work or a friend online and drink that junk. Do that, even if it's one day a week outside of everything else you do, because this will start to change your patterns, man.
yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You know what I
Another
mean?
thing that, yeah, another thing I was thinking about too was reassessing. Sometimes you have to take a step back and like recognize when it's time to reassess your goals. So the reason I say this is because I work with a lot of people that when they're in an organization and they feel like they need to move up. Most people, like, they want to move up to make money, to make extra money, to kind of support the lifestyle that they're hoping to get, or move up by moving up into management. But they're doing it almost like out of, like, they feel like if their boss comes to them and goes, "Hey, what's your 5-year plan?" and you don't say, "Oh, I want to move up," like, they kind of look at you funny. You know what I mean? So I know a lot of people just from experience that say this, but that can put you in a rut, because sometimes you just got to pay attention to signs that your current goals might not be aligned with, like, your desires or your circumstances. So if you're feeling like unmotivated, overwhelmed, it might not be a good idea to strive for a position that's going to create more responsibility for you. That's
Right.
just going against like you're banging your head against a wall. And so you need to kind of figure out, and then you got to be authentic with yourself, and tell yourself, "Hey, listen, like, I like what I do right now, but I don't want to do this forever. So let me, maybe in the meantime, instead of starting a new job from scratch, I know what I want out of life, like my desires, and I know where I want to be, like, as far as circumstances go. So let me maybe create a side business for the next 3 years instead of moving up, you know?" So that's when it comes. You got to set meaningful goals. And again, people's goals are so vague. They're such crap. Like, like, I hear people all the time, "Oh, what do you want? What do you want to be this time next year?" I just want to, better myself. I'm like, the fuck? Like,
Like,
I just,
yo,
I don't get it. I can go crazy just thinking about it, but I'm just like, yeah, you have one shot at this thing, man. It's like, what, and you have such all these abilities that are inside you that no one else has, and you're just wasting away just trying to be better one year. I want to be better next year. It's like,
yeah,
come on, man.
you know what,
Everyone,
bro?
everyone up the heavens are like, fuck,
Like, they
another
still
year of
don't
this
get it.
shit,
Damn.
another year of this.
Yeah,
You know,
yes. But this is, there's so much I want to really go in on that. And the one thing that stops me from really going in on it is remembering there's a possibility that people have no idea that they could do something different,
yeah,
right? Like, and even if they have the idea, they're gonna fail to think it's possible.
yeah,
So my thing is, some people may not like this, and I frankly don't give a damn, because it's our job here to tell you the truth. Is if you're in a rut, I want you to look at, are you choosing to be there?
yeah. Of course, they're choosing to be there. And, like, if they're saying they're not choosing to be there, that's a child mentality.
Yeah.
You're
Or
you're
your child's
you're
gonna be like, make a different choice then, mother hoo-ha.
yeah. That's not an adult mentality. It's a child mentality. Listen, everyone's been in ruts. It happens. You're stuck. But if you're not putting any action behind it, you're just like, "Oh, poor me," or "I can't do anything about it," or "I don't know what to do." That's a child mentality. That's what you expect a 4-year-old to say.
Mhm.
"Why didn't you get this done?" "Oh, I don't know. I couldn't figure out how to do it." Okay, you're a 4-year-old. I get it. But if
Yeah,
you're a 30 to even a teenager or older, you should be able to. That's a still, you're dealing with a child mentality. You should be able to figure this shit out.
yeah, yeah. Well,
You know?
hold up. This is where I see, like, what we're doing here, what we got coming up with the masterminds is going to be very helpful, because I
Yeah,
think, again, this is where some people may not, they may know, and they have yet to know that they know.
yeah,
Because what you said before, I want to come back to this, because it was potent what you were talking about, reassessing your goals. You said this a couple of times before in podcasts. I see that time when you encounter the rut. That's the perfect time to look at. All right, hold up. All right, hold up. Let me, like you said before, let me take a step back. Hold up. Okay. Let me take myself out of the picture and out of the frame. Let me see what's going on. And this, listen, if you look at how companies do it, like effective companies, because I remember when I worked for the software as a service that did performance reviews, there a lot of these companies, like Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, some of them are doing like biannual reviews, checking in quarterly after every project. Yo, what's going on here? What did you do here? This is what you need to get better with. Blah 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 blah. So there's no opportunity to get in a rut. They're always progressing.
Yeah.
If we're able to do that at work, like we get to be able to do that for ourselves personally, especially when we come in that situation where like, yeah, I just feel like all sluggish and shit. Ugh. You know what I mean? Shoot, man,
I
got
hear
me
you.
riled up, man. Got me all riled up here.
Yeah, man, get riled up, man.
It's the
Get riled up.
holidays, man. Trying to get me all mixed Scrooge, man. But I think I want to because one of the things I had in the notes here for myself is goals, and I'm glad that we touched on it. And you touched on this when you talked about the SMART goals. And people listen. And B, I'm trying to remember what's the other episode that we talked about that. I think it was when we were talking about the full-time job and the side hustle. And you mentioned specifically how our goals aren't big enough, man.
Yeah. People are scared because people are scared to fail. You know?
Yeah.
Like as far as like for me, as far as financially, like my goal is to be a billionaire. And I don't need to be a billion. I don't need to have make $1 billion. I don't need that money. But again, I kind of track my success, but if my network growing every year, my goal is to be a billionaire. That'd be cool. You know, just like, man, you know, I'm a billionaire, you know? But will it ever happen? I don't know, but I'm going to try, you know, and if I don't try, maybe I'll only make $100 million. Poor me. You guys feel sorry for me? Or maybe if that doesn't work, I'm only going to make $10 million. Who feels sorry for me if I only make $10 million, you know? But it's like,
bro.
But listen, if I ever make $1 billion, I mean, even that much, even 100 million or whatever, I'm going to do a lot for the world. I promise you. But I set big goals for myself. You know, I don't set small goals for myself. That's a 20-year plan down the road.
Yes, bro. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you oh man, so good. And I want us to do something too. Like we're gonna eliminate the word try, and we're gonna say we make these attempts. I got this in the meditation. I'm like, yo, stop trying. And it was crazy because I was meditation. Then I heard this J-Rock song that had like these fresh beats with Neville Goddard on the top. It's like, yo, stop trying. The way you've been doing it has not been working. I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, so I want to come back to what you say. Like, you make these attempts, you set the goal high, you put in the attempts to get there. I think that's the important piece of, again, even if it's one thing that you make different, there's a rep there. And when it comes to what you're saying about the failure of trying something, I would love at some point that we as a collective get out of this pass fail mentality, because all reps, man.
And why are you scared to fail? I feel like people are scared to fail because they don't want to look stupid in front of other people. And this kind of leads me into the next one, or it could be our last one, or we're wrapping up. But it's, you know, building like accountability or support systems around you, having people around you, good people around you, you know, and that people that you can trust and kind of and bounce ideas off of, or you just get great advice from them. And then some people out there be like, hey, my inner circle sucks. I don't have anybody good. Well, you know what? Spend an hour every morning and find maybe like 2 or 3 people that inspire you. Maybe it's like, you know, Gary V. I like listening to Gary V. or Myron Golden, right? Golden or Mount Goldman. I forgot. Yeah, I love that guy. Or maybe it's somebody else or whatever like this. I have like a YouTube of people that are my mentors. Never met them, but they inspire me, man. They're like, man, I'm getting like goosebumps. These people like they're talking to me. And one day I will meet them, and I'm gonna be like, "Thank you, man. I wouldn't be in this position where I am with it if it wasn't for you." So you for saying, "Oh, I don't have nobody that cares about me." Fuck those people. Like there's people out there that create YouTube videos so you can bring you closer. You guys can have a community. You don't need to tangibly touch somebody to, you know, have a mentor. So there's so many different ways you can do that.
So many ways, bro. And another thing too, and again, because you know, you and I are big fans of the mastermind, but like, you know, I know for me, I joined a mastermind, right? Because I'm like, I wanted to get along. My intention was to connect with a group that is on a upward trajectory. Like they're sharing insights that will help me. So like even if I do one of them, like you mentioned before, B, right? Even if I do one of these things in this thing that I'm learning, I'm ahead of the game. Like, rather than just like reading to regurgitate some shit, I'm really actually learning something.
Yeah.
And going from there, man. I think so. So the key piece is when you get into an accountability group, Brian, I love this, is you're setting yourself up for success, because now you're equipping yourself to consistently get out of ruts. You even being in that space, you won't be stuck in a rut just by freaking what do they call it, the mycelium of the situation. Right? Like you're the collective energies and the energetic bodies of everyone in a circle or in a space that's a leveling up. You will be a part of that too.
Yeah.
If people are trying to level up to you, you're going to be in a rut because there's constant people draining you down rather than like lifting you up. You see what I mean, man?
Yeah, I do mastermind groups all the time. Signing up for an entrepreneurial organization, strategic coach, like for entrepreneurs, and I'm with these people all the time. I'm in the trenches with these people because I pay this money because I know it's going to 10x. People are like, oh man, how are you going to go out there and pay a couple $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 for this? Because if I spend $10,000 on a mastermind, I know it's going to make me 100x that, or just elite, say 10x that in the future. I know it will, as long as I apply it.
Yep.
There's a reason they're charging that much. Right?
Yep.
Like you should be able to tenfold to 100-fold everything you get. I went to a mastermind for my Amazon business, and at the time I was $90,000 in debt doing this. And the guy told me, hey, read these books. One of the things I learned is like, the e-commerce for profit first e-commerce. That was a good book. And I met with two other people that had their own organizations that, hey, like, you need to do this. You need to do this. And we applied this, 6 years later, we're almost an 8-figure business. It's blew up because I went to that one course. Yeah. And I spent a couple $1,000 while people are like, oh, that's too, I can't do that. But they'll go out and they'll buy a car that they can't afford, or they have no problem spending $15 for a margarita. Like, I'm bettering myself. That's where I put my money into. It's investing.
Bro. Man,
yeah, always have
rewind. Can we talk to StreamYard about getting a rewind? Because, bro, I swear to goodness, when I'm editing, I'm gonna be listening to that junk again. I'm gonna listen to what you said again and again, bro. You just hit it out of the park right there.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity out there, and again, a lot of people don't know it. Like I remember, first time I went to like a business, it was called like a business meeting or whatever, and I was like, maybe I'll learn like one or two things, dude. I changed my whole portfolio. I couldn't get enough of it, man. I probably learned like 100 different things. And it was just like, I just applied all this stuff. It's like investing money into personal and professional growth that's the biggest ROI, return on your investment, you'll ever receive, and stop wasting your money on liabilities and bullshit like cars and clothes and shoes. And you can do that in the future, but how about you make money first before you start buying liabilities? People are broke and in debt, and then they're buying liabilities. So sometimes you gotta kind of feel the pain. And one of the reasons we went to the seminar, because we didn't know how to manage our books. It was new to us. We were both like kind of brand new to, like, we didn't really know our numbers until somebody showed us how to do it. Now moving forward, like, all right, now we know our numbers. Next business we buy, we know our numbers. Following business we bought, we know our numbers. So it helped us out a lot.
Yeah, bro. So just something that came up when you were talking about this, and then we'll start to wrap up, because I know you're recovering, man. I want to make sure your voice is good for when you're singing Christmas carols tomorrow night.
Yeah, you know me. I'm going around the neighborhood caroling.
He's gonna be like, fa la 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 la, 'tis the season to be Brian. Dude, I want to say something that came to mind, like in bright neon lights. Especially right here, we have breaking free of a rut, and a message came to me that said, sometimes you have to pay for your release. Okay, so when you're stuck, This is the investment Brian's talking about. Sometimes you got to pay for a pass to get your ass out of shit.
Yeah.
You try to do it for free, you end up in some doo-doo still, man. And it gets deeper. So but listen, bro.
You get what you pay for, right?
You get what you pay for. Listen, I'm telling you, I'm building, I'm building my stuff right now. And I'm recognizing it's like everything is energy. Money's energy, my time is energy, my attention is energy. So where am I spending it? Right. So if I'm going to spend my money, I want to spend my money in something that I can invest either in my body, in my mind, or my spirit. So what's the thing that I'm learning? Like last year, I did public speaking courses. So now I can okay, cool. Still got to practice. I love you, Tamara, but still got to practice, right? And I know okay, these are the frameworks that I have. This is the type of thing I wanted to educate myself. Now this year is applying the knowledge. You see, I had to learn. Now I can apply. And this is the piece. Sometimes you got to pay for your release, people. So stop being all stingy, man. Invest in yourself. If you want that junk, you'll find a way. Even if you're like, you know what, man, can I pay you $5 every third day? Sure you can, Melvin. You really want this, though? All right, man.
Yeah.
Let's go. People will, and you'd be surprised. A lot of times, oh, man, I don't know if I can afford it. Instead of going in with that mindset, I don't know if I can afford it. Hey, listen, this is what I can spend right now. Can you work with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, I had to get out of a rut to get there.
Life's all about taking risks and
it's
calculating.
All about that, bro.
Yeah. Gotta have fun, man.
To get out of the rut, you gotta take a risk, bro.
That's it, brother.
We got a lot of episodes we got to do, man. The applied knowledge, stress. There's a couple other ones here I'm gonna find in the but yeah, we always come with some goody goods. I'm in a singing mood, so I may go caroling tomorrow night. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. But all right, B, I'm gonna go brave the cold right now, start my car up at least for the day so it doesn't freeze on me. Bless up to you, bro. Hey, pull up before we wrap up. Any last words, man? That's rude, man. What the heck am I thinking?
You need to work on your your patience over there. That was very rude of you, Paul.
That was, man. What the man? It's the holidays, man. Bah humbug, man. Get everybody out of here.
It was getting cold. Cold in their stocking. No. I got nothing else to say, man. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I hope you guys out there learned some stuff. And if you learned anything, please just subscribe and share, and put some comments in there. Like any comments you want to hear in the future, any podcasts you'd like to hear, or any advice on how you get out of a rut. That'd be very helpful for us. We appreciate it.
Bless up, man. And so it is, man. Everybody, peace out. Until next time.
Later, man.